In this video, we're going to be talking about how to solve questions with order of operations. What that means is basically any question that looks a little bit like this, where you have a whole bunch of things to do to solve the answer. To say, well, I need to do 5.2 plus 2.3 squared times 6, take away 5.2. What do I do? Where do I start? That's what order of operations means and how to do it. So before I go through this question, let's have a quick acronym, something where it helps us remember what to do. So I like to use BODMAS, and it stands for this. So it stands for brackets, order, or we could say even or, division, and I'll explain what these mean in a second, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So it means if we have a question that has brackets in it, we need to do this one step 1. We have to do it first. If the question has things that we call indices or exponents, they look a little bit like this. So if it's like a powered number, so if it's, 4 squared, this little 2 right here is what we call a power number. So that would be an example of one of these things we need to do next. This is second most important. Another example is like we have square root, which just means like the square root of 49. It just means what times itself equals 49. So it equals 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Yeah, so 7 times 7 is 49. So 7 is the answer. That's what that means. We have division and multiplication. So the reason why I've written these at the same time is because they're equal thirds. So we have these as third together. I always say do the one that's the first one you'd read. So the one that's furthest to the left, do that one first. So if multiplication comes up first, like if the question was something like, 3 times 2 divided by 2, let's say that was the question, I would do 3 times 2 first and then divide it by 2. I wouldn't go 2 divided by 2 then times 3. You might be okay, the question might be answered, you might get it correct, but I'll just always prefer going left to right just in case. And then addition and subtraction just means plus and minus, and they are just like the division and multiplication step, that equal fourth importance. So if your question has addition or subtraction in it, just like this question, do it from left to right first. So whatever that addition or subtraction is, that's that way, do it first. Here's some other acronyms that some people use. So if you ever hear these words, that's what it means. So we have Pemdas, we have GEMDAS, and we have BIDMAS. So Pemdas just means parentheses, which is another name for brackets, or they could even be these square brackets. Exponents is what I said before, like the squared numbers, things like that. And then everything else is the same. And then it's again, these are equal third, these are equal fourth. So, and then yeah, that's basically what this is. And for BIDMAS, I've just used the word indices instead of order or. Anyway, so let's go into a question, and hopefully just this one question will give us enough idea of what to do. So I have a question. It has lots of different things in there. So what do we do first? So if I just wrote Bod Mass on the side of my paper, it'll help me remember. So I look and I go, is there any brackets first? And I go, yes, there is. So let's do that first. So I go 5 take away 2 equals 3. What I like to do is I like to write it above the answer, and then I even like to rewrite it just so I know how I got that number. So how I got that 3. So I've got 5.2 plus 2.3 squared times 6 take away 3. Yeah, because I've just solved 5 take away 2, right? So I'm just rewriting it as its answer. Now I go, is there any more brackets? No, there isn't. So there's no more. Let's go to the next step. Is there any order? Is there any powers of squared numbers? So here I've got 2.3 squared. Now if you don't know how to do squared, it just means it's times by itself when it has that little number. And the 2 just means it's times by itself twice. So if I just use some extra paper over here, I've got 2.3 times 2.3 would be how I'd solve it. So I've got 3 times 3 is 9, then 3 times 2 is 6. I finished it, so I cross it out, I put in a 0, I start again. 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. Now how you do multiplication with decimals is you count how many decimals have been in the question. So I've got 1 decimal, 2 decimal places. I've got 2 numbers behind the decimals. So that's just for me to know. So I probably should have done this step next. I add my answers up. So I've got 9 plus 0 is 9, 6 plus 6 is 12, 4 plus 1 is 5. So now I look at how many decimals there are behind. So I jumped the gun before. So I went 2 spaces over, so I can bring my decimal in 2 spots. So my answer is 5.29. So I like to put it in brackets myself and just say, well, it equals 5.29, as we can see right here, right? Now I rewrite it. Every time you rewrite it, it hopefully just makes it a bit more neater. So plus 5.29 times 6, take away 3. Now I look, is there any more order or indices? No, there isn't. So now I go to division and multiplication. I'm grouping these together, right? So is there any division or multiplication? There is, there's a multiplication. So I like to put it in brackets myself, so I know that's what I'm focusing on right now. So I've got 5.29 times 6. When I'm doing vertical multiplication like this, I always like writing the number that has less digits on the bottom. That's just how I prefer doing it. You don't have to do it that way. 6 times 9 is 54. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. I don't need to bother cross out the 6 or the working out because there's no other numbers to work with, so I'm done. Now I look at the decimal and it's 2 place values over. So I bring in the decimal 2 spots over, so the answer is 31.74. Now if I rewrite the question nice and neatly, I've got 5.2 plus 31.74, take away 3. Now, is there any more multiplication or division? There's none left. So now look at addition and subtraction together. Are there any of those? Yes, there is. There's addition and subtraction. So I like to, as I said before, do the one that's furthest to the left. So I'm going to do 5.2 plus 31.74 as my next step. So I've got 31.74 plus, was it, I've already forgotten what it is, 5.2. When you're using addition, it's important that you try your best to line up your decimals. I know mine's a bit wonky here, but hopefully you get the idea. And have your place value also in order. So here's my hundredths column, and here's my tenths column. So I'd actually like to put in a 0 here, just so there's a number in every spot. I can even put a 0 here, so it's really clear for me of what to do. I can even put my decimal in early so I don't forget it. In subtraction and addition, you need to put the decimal in line with the decimals in the question. So 4 plus 0 is 4. 7 plus 2 is 9. I've gone past the decimal, so 1 plus 5 is 6. 3 plus nothing is 3, so 36.94. 36.94 is my answer. So if I rewrite it again, 36.94, take away 3, that'll be the answer. So I could do it vertically, or I could just do it in my head. This one's easy to do in my head because it's just 36 take away 3, it's 33. And then I haven't done anything to the 0.94, so I can just rewrite it. If I had a decimal and numbers here, I'd probably have to work it out vertically, but in this case I didn't need to. So there's my answer.